Your parents' house can go into foreclosure when they pass away. When your parents pass away, you won't have the ability to make mortgage payments unless you have the authority to do so. When you call the mortgage company after your parents have passed away and you try to gain access to their account so that you can make mortgage payments, they're not going to do so until you have the letters of administration or the letters of testamentary. If you don't act quickly and start making payments on your parents' property when they pass away, you could trigger the foreclosure process. You won't be able to make payments even if you have the money to do so. The house cannot be sold or rented without the court's permission, and you could lose the family home before the probate process even starts. Most people assume that if they are supposed to be inheriting that property when their parents pass away, they can immediately sell that property, refinance, manage it, etc., but that's simply not the case. Till you go through the probate process and the courts give you the authority to manage that property on behalf of the estate, you don't have any authority to touch that property. And even if you are listed in the will, the mortgage company legally does not have the authority to allow you to gain access to the accounts to start making mortgage payments. And even if you're listed on the will, the mortgage company legally cannot let you gain access to those accounts until you become a representative of the estate. So let's talk about what probate does not do. It does not automatically transfer the home down to you. It does not pause the foreclosure timeline and does not remove your personal liability if you mismanage assets during the probate process. So let's talk about what the probate process does do. It does give you the letters of testamentary or the letters of administration, which will enable you to have the authority to manage those mortgage accounts. It will allow you to sell, refinance, or maintain that property during the probate process, and it will make you responsible for settling the estate's debts. So let's talk about how you can get the authority to start making payments on your parents' property so that you will avoid the foreclosure process during probate. When your parents pass away, you'll grab their death certificate, the original will if they had one, and a petition for probate, and you will file those documents at the probate courts in the county where your parents live. The courts will open up the probate process and give you the letters of testamentary or the letters of administration, which will give you the authority to manage the assets inside the estate. At that point, you can take those letters and the death certificate to the bank and show them that your parents have actually passed away and that you have the authority to manage that property. If you want help probating your parents' property, click the link in the bio, fill out the form, and schedule a time to talk to someone on our team. So the first step we're going to do is get the death certificate. You'll need multiple copies of your parents' death certificate. That way you can manage multiple aspects of the estate. You'll need it to file the petition for probate and open up the probate process. You'll also need it for the banks to prove that your parents have actually passed away. You're also going to need it for banks and insurance, so make sure you're getting at least 5 copies when you go and get them. Step 2 is going to be locating the original will if you had one. You're going to need the original will, not a copy. That way things go a little bit more smoothly during the probate process. The will is going to show who the executor is, which is the person that manages the assets and distributes them during the probate process, and how those assets are supposed to be distributed. If you do not have a will, that's perfectly fine. You will just file for the letters of administration, and then those assets will get distributed per the intestate laws of your state. Step 3 is going to be filing for probate. So you'll take the death certificate, the original will if they had one, and the petition for probate, and you'll file those 3 documents at the probate courts in the county where your parents lived. Now, if your parents had a will, you will file the petition for probate. If your parents did not have a will, you will file for the letters of administration. Step 4 is going to be using the court letters that they give you when they open up the probate process to be able to contact the mortgage company. You cannot contact the mortgage company until you have the death certificate and the letters that the courts have given you. You will use these documents to prove that your parents have passed away and prove that you have the authority to manage the assets going through the probate process. And when you have these documents, they will allow you to see the financials and the accounts and gain access to everything related to that property. At this point, you can start making payments, see the payoff amounts, and explore selling or refinancing that property. So what could go wrong if you delay starting the probate process because you feel like procrastinating? Mortgage companies will typically start the foreclosure process 90 days after payments have stopped being made. Opening up the probate process, so filing those documents, getting approval, starting the probate process, so getting those documents, filling them out, mailing them in, and waiting on the courts to give you the approval and the letters can take 4 to 8 weeks. So that will eat through at least half of the time that you have before the bank start the foreclosure process. We have literally seen people call us and they say, hey, my parents passed away, I was not able to make payments, and the property is going to the foreclosure auction next week. What can I do? At that point, you literally cannot do anything because you will not be able to get the letters in time or be able to access the bank accounts in time to start making those mortgage payments and bring everything up to speed. If you want help with the probate process, click the link in the bio, fill out the form, and schedule a time to talk to someone on our team.